So in this video, I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite quotes for all things wellness, personal development, and mindfulness. And for me, quotes are a great way to replace some of that negative input that's constantly being planted in our brains. If you're watching the news, you're watching any sort of negative media, those thoughts are taking threshold. They're taking real estate up in our mind. So I find by having some of these positive quotes to uplift me, that's taking more of that real estate. It's creating positive real estate in my mind with these thoughts, rather than letting the negative ones take hold. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing some quotes from a wide variety of people, from Gandhi to Theodore Roosevelt to James Allen, David Data, and a lot of other great characters. So buckle up and hear my favorites. So these are not really in a particular order. I will leave my favorite one for last. That has been the most impactful for me. But we're going to start off right easy with Mr. Theodore Roosevelt. So Theodore Roosevelt, believe you can, and you're halfway there. And to me, this is where it all begins. It starts with our thoughts. And if we can think it, we can believe it, we can achieve it. But if we don't have the thought, we don't have the belief that we can achieve something, we're never even going to try to do it. And it's never even going to be a possibility because we haven't put that thought out there. We haven't believed that we're able to even do it. So this is one of my favorite quotes. Then on a similar note, we have James Allen from the book As a Man Thinketh, which is one of my favorite short little books. And it's as he thinks, so he is. As he continues to think, so he remains. Very similar idea. The way that we think, the thoughts that we have going into our head are ultimately going to shape the reality of our life. Now, to expand upon that last James Allen quote, I want to add another layer. And this is one of my favorite James Allen quotes. As a man's mind may be likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild, but whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein and will continue to produce their kind. So just like I've been talking about, if we have positive thoughts in our head, those are going to duplicate. If we have negative thoughts in our head, those are going to duplicate. So how can we put more positive seeds in our mind and think of our mind as a garden, planting that positivity, which will sprout to be many more positive seeds? All right, now I got to go into King's Dark Tidings by Mr. Kelcade, one of my favorite fantasy books of all time. So if you haven't listened to those on Audible, they are phenomenal. King's Dark Tidings. So one of my quotes I really like from this is the main character says, "The greatest adventures often start with a simple task and rarely seem so great when you're enduring them." And a lot of times we can be caught up in the mix of life, but we don't really take the time to reflect on how fantastic this journey we're actually on is. Sometimes we think the grass will be greener over there. Life will be better when. Life will be cooler when. When I have this, life will be X. But at the end of the day, maybe the journey we're on right now is the best one we're having. Now we're going to jump to my mentor and friend, Joel Salatin, who, if you haven't checked out my podcast with him, that was a dream. I met him in 2021 and had him on my podcast later in 2021 as well. So Joel Salatin, legendary farmer. I've studied his work for many years. And one of my favorite quotes is, "You can't have a healthy civilization without healthy soil. You can't have junk food and have healthy people." Pretty self-explanatory, but what we eat is a result of what our food ate. So if we're eating lettuce, what did that lettuce eat? What type of soil did it have? What type of water did it have? What was the air quality? So looking at this from a holistic picture starts from the ground up. So if we want to be healthy, we got to get our soil healthy. Now, very simple Joel Salatin quote: "Nature moves towards balance." Wherever you look, nature's always finding its balance. It's not complaining about the weather. It's not complaining about the latest thing on the news. It's just doing its thing and it's moving towards balance. And another quote on the topic of nature is, "Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience." And what we're talking about, challenges coming up and, negativity coming up, and any sort of journey that we're on, there's always going to be challenges. And so John F. Kennedy says, when written in Chinese, the word crisis is composed of two characters. One represents danger and the other represents opportunity. You're very, very rarely going to hear of any story of a successful person that made it to where they are without any sort of challenges. And it is inherently those challenges that these people often look back on and say, that was the moment that I grew. That was the moment I realized what I was made of. That was the moment when my life changed. So sometimes in the moment, like we're saying about the journey earlier, it may seem like this is a terrible thing. We can't understand why this is happening. And then we overcome, we adapt and overcome, we get stronger. We realize, that's why I need to face that challenge. And then this transitions us nicely into Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which is one of my favorite books as well. I got a lot of good books out there. And so he says, who you are is defined by what you're willing to struggle for. So same thing. We're all going to have our challenges. So what are you going to choose to be challenged by? What are you going to choose to struggle with? Because it's either we're going to let the world tell us what to struggle with, or we're going to choose our own struggles. That's why if you follow my page, you see I'm a big proponent of things like ice baths and movement and things that are inherently challenging, but force us to grow, adapt, and evolve so that we are choosing every single day what our challenges are and not leaving that up to the rest of the world. Now let's go to the Dalai Lama. There are only 2 days in the year that nothing can be done. One is called yesterday and the other is called tomorrow. So today is the right day to love, believe, do, and mostly live. Many of us are caught up in the future, worrying about the past, but the only thing we can control is the right here and right now. So that's why we got to make today the best day ever. And now last but certainly not least, we're going to go to Mr. David Data. And like I mentioned, The Way of the Superior Man has been one of the most impactful books in my life. I read it at a really important time. I believe I was about 18 or 19 years old, just kind of in that place where I was feeling a little lost, didn't really know where to go, had a lot of that masculine energy, but didn't know how to harness it and focus it in an intentional and deliberate way. So I came across this book. And I've had people in the past say, oh, the way of the superior man is just saying that men are better than women. You know, these are people on the feminist side of the camp talking, which is great and all. But no, don't get your panties in a bunch. This is how to be a superior man amongst other men. How can you be the best man that you can possibly be? How can you stand out from the pack? Because most people nowadays are going for the bare minimum. They're going for the minimum required effort, and they're just going to get by. They're looking to survive. They're not looking to thrive. So if you are a man who is looking to improve your life and looking to get clear on your purpose and find the best way to interact with yourself, the world, with women, this is a phenomenal book, The Way of the Superior Man. So I'm going to read the last 2 quotes here, and I'll leave my favorite for last, like I said. Number 1, if you don't know your purpose, discover it now. Without a conscious life purpose, a man is totally lost, drifting, adapting to events rather than creating events. Without knowing his life purpose, a man lives a weakened, impotent existence, perhaps eventually even becoming sexually impotent or prone to mechanical and disinterested sex. And this is something I can definitely say from myself. You know, when I was in college, one of my big objections was to just hook up with a bunch of chicks, which was a lot of fun, but it became this, this kind of disinterested sex, like it says here, because I didn't have a real purpose, and chasing women is not a real purpose, despite what you may see, you know, from pickup artists and all these type of things, that this is the number one thing you got to do. And maybe it is for a very select few people, but I think for most of us, that's not the most important purpose in our lives. And when we get caught up in things that are the shiny objects that aren't really aligned with our true purpose, it's going to lead to some negative side effects. And now, my favorite quote of all time, which I've considered getting tattooed in my body. It's a little long though, so it's tough to it'd be fit my whole side body. So I've decided I'm not going to do that, but it was definitely a consideration. And every time I was in a challenge, like I said, in my late teens, early 20s, this is a book, a passage in particular that I would refer back to. So again, this is from David Data, The Way of Superior Man. Lean just beyond your edge. In any given moment, a man's growth is optimized if he leans just beyond his edge, his capacity, his fear. He should not be too lazy, happily stagnating in the zone of security and comfort. Nor should he push far beyond his edge, stressing himself unnecessarily, unable to metabolize his experience. He should lean just beyond the edge of fear and discomfort constantly in everything he does. Man, every time I read that, it gets me fired up. So the message with this one here my interpretation is we can get so caught up in trying to do all the coolest things, burning ourselves out, back to square one. And that's not the point here. We want to push that comfort zone, but not so much that we just burn ourselves out. We do too much, more than we're able to metabolize, more than we're able to actually learn from and react and adapt to. So constantly, the cold showers, the exercise, the reading of books, the difficult conversations, the growing of the business, the growing of the self, these little things, small actions compounded over time. And I'll throw on one more quote, and I can't remember who it's by. I think it's a Tasmanian proverb. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. So keep planting those seeds, keep exposing yourself to positive media, keep being the change, become clear on your purpose, serve yourself, serve others. Let's keep growing together. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed all these quotes that I've compiled. And these are some of my quotes I put on a blog post on my website. So you can check that out. I will put the link in the description box here. 45 quotes for holistic health, I believe it is called, on my website, wholehealthconnects.com, constantly updating all the different media that's on there. We'd love for you to subscribe to the channel here. We'd love to hear your favorite quote. So if you want to drop your favorite quote in the comments here, I'd love to hear it. I'm always open to sharing more quotes, and maybe I'll put together a new blog post that has some of your favorite quotes in there. We can keep on spreading that positivity. This is a blog post on my own website that I refer back to all the time. Like I said, anytime I'm feeling that negative spiral coming on, check back in here, see some of my favorite quotes, get myself back on track. So hope that helps for you. Last time, like I said, check it out. Put the link in the description to the blog. Throw some comments in there with your favorite quotes. Subscribe to the channel for all the latest drop-in videos every Thursday, podcasts every Monday, and throw some shorts out there too. So be on the lookout for those. Appreciate you. Have an amazing day, and we'll see you soon.